Hopefully I did all of that right. That is the question of the day. Okay. Oh, hi, the real POTUS. I hope so. I hope that it will stick. Hopefully you guys can hear me. Thank you all for being here. This is, as I said, my first time teaching yoga on Twitch. So we'll see how this goes together. But before we start, just a couple of things for you guys to know. The way I teach yoga is to be very accessible to everybody. I'll give some variations, so take it at your own pace. The best way to approach yoga is not in the idea of trying to push yourself really hard or challenge yourself to get there. Hi, Consuela. Hi, Jordan. Yes, this cat has already tried to destroy many things, so I'm sure she will be a part of this. But it's really more about listening to your body. The biggest benefit of yoga is body awareness, more than anything else. So really listen to how you're feeling today, as opposed to feeling like you need to push yourself somewhere. There is no best pose, there's no perfect pose except what's going to fit best for your body, and really the only thing you want to focus on is alignment more than anything else. So keep those things in mind, and one way that I like to approach yoga is thinking about it as preventative physical therapy, as opposed to, not that it's not a workout, but approach it that way. And all of that is really about safety, because as you did see, there is a liability waiver essentially, because yoga is not a cure-all. It can definitely hurt you. If you have an injury, you generally want a doctor to clear you before you do yoga. So there's a lot of things like that. But today I'm going to do a very beginner focused practice, so we can kind of all start this together. If you know yoga or take yoga a lot and you know how to make it a bit more challenging, please feel free to do so. I'll give a few options as well. I think that about covers it. As far as if you guys can hear me, let me know. I'm going to try a few different things with the mic. I've got one mic and I'll try to speak up so that you can hear that. Yeah, I think that's it. Oh, and also, if you feel that you can, it would be super grateful if you could donate. Sort of thinking of this as a donation-based class. Do what you can. If you can't, that is totally okay as well. Maybe share out on social media, which can be really helpful. Give me a follow. All those sorts of things are very beneficial. So I very much appreciate it. And yeah, I have been doing yoga. I actually began yoga teaching yoga because the very first yoga class I took, I hated it. It was in college, which I know sounds funny. Why'd you start teaching it? I actually wanted to teach Pilates, but a friend of mine said Pilates classes are really hard to find. Try yoga. Try this yoga training. I swear you'll like it. So I tried it, and I really did like it. Yoga is really about finding the instructor and the class style that you like, because there's a lot of different class styles. And on top of that, I guess I could tell you kind of what I teach. I teach a vinyasa style, or closest to that. The school I went to is Yoga Fit, and Yoga Fit kind of mixes a few different styles, and they base it on exercise science. So that's not saying that general yoga is bad for you per se, but it's not built for the Western body. So Yoga Fit's whole thing is about bringing yoga to the gym environment. So the gym environment, the idea is that there are more beginners or people who don't have a yoga background. Yeah, so it's more accessible for people like that. And that's how I like to teach it. Yeah, so I think the way we'll do this, since I know it'll be hard to chat and things like that as we're doing yoga, feel free to do so. I've got my phone over there so I can keep an eye on it. But I'll also leave a little bit at the end for questions. So if you have any questions about things that came up, you can ask them then, so you don't feel like you have to do it right now. But feel free to chat. If you would rather just watch this and then do the practice later, you can do that as well. For anyone, I mean, this I'll tell you guys, so you can tell anyone who comes in later. It's better, of course, to do the warm-up first, and so kind of do this from beginning to end. So just, if somebody comes in and I don't catch them, just help me make them aware that once we've gotten past the warm-up, it's kind of at their own risk. But again, this is going to be a really gentle practice, so there's not a whole lot going on today. So let's go ahead and start and see how this goes. Yeah, it'll be fun. So let me get some music. Let me know if it's too loud or anything like that. And we'll try this out. Okay. I'm sure Zuko will be joining us. So the very first thing we're going to do is just find some breath. So you can have a seat on your mat, you can lay on your back, whatever feels best for you, but just find a comfortable position. And go ahead and close your eyes and just be here. Just focus on the breath. Don't feel like you need to change it. Just see where it is right now. Is it fast? Is it slow? Is it deep already? Is it shallow? And then let's find a deep breath through the nose and exhale out through the mouth, letting it be an audible exhale. Let's find one more. Then let's switch the breath to in and out through the nose. And this is the breath we're going to bring into the actual work, to our actual practice. So we're using the filter of the nose to help warm the air. And of course, if you're stopped up today, you don't have to do it like this. Breathe however you can breathe comfortably. But this is the breath we're aiming for. And to help you kind of find this breath, because we want it to be deep, you can place one hand on the belly, one hand on the chest. And this is called a 3-part breath. So I do inhale, you want to fill the belly first. So feel that hand lift first. And then the chest. And then as you exhale, exhale chest first. Then belly. And you're pressing all of the air out. So that's a good way to feel that breath. And it's 3-part because it's belly, ribs, then chest. But if you just focus on the belly and chest, you'll get there. So continuing that breath, and just take a moment here. What we're really looking for, one thing that will really help your awareness is just to be present. And to be present, let the mind focus on the senses. So notice what you hear, and it can be anything. If there's somebody running around outside, focus on that. Don't try to block it out. It's not easy, but don't focus on blocking things out. Just focus on being present. Notice the body, things like that. That'll help with safety as well. So let's go ahead and start here. Let's start on our backs. So go ahead and lay flat. And then on an inhale, just stretch arms over the head and reach from fingers to toes. Now we're going to move through alternating knees to chest. So when you're ready on an exhale, we're just going to draw one knee into the chest, placing hands behind the knee joint on the thigh. And we'll inhale, arms and that leg back out. And we'll exhale the opposite knee in. And just continuing with the same deep breaths in and out through the nose. So this is a flowing warm-up. Old warm-ups were stretching. You generally want to stretch the body when it's already warm. So instead, we're kind of moving through a dynamic stretch. Going with the breath, it helps to warm up the joints, warm up the muscles a little bit without putting too much pressure or strain on them. It's funny because I'm so used to my group classes. In my group classes, I'm always checking people's alignment. I can't see your alignment. Okay, let's find one more on both sides. And then after this last one, let's bring both knees into the chest, one leg at a time. Hands are still behind the knee joint on the thigh. And just take a moment, rock side to side here. Let the head and neck go with the body. I think this is kind of interesting. So a lot of people, especially in Pilates, I learned this in Pilates, learn spine massage by rocking back and forth this way. It's actually not ideal for the spine because osteoporosis is so common. And osteopenia, which is sort of the beginning stages of osteoporosis, you can cause little fractures in your spine by doing that. Isn't that fun? So anyway, this one's a lot better. Still get a nice massage, a little different. Good, let's come back to center. And, oh, there's my phone, I'll check in. Oh, good morning. Good morning, Tyler. It's okay to be late. Yeah, so we'll come back to center, and we're going to do hip-knee circles. So for these, hands go to the outside of the knee. On an inhale, we're letting both knees fall open. We're going to start to drop feet towards the mat. Before they get there, we'll bring knees back together and exhale, knees to chest. All right, and just going with the breath. So you're always inhaling as the knees move away and exhaling as they come back. And that's pretty much true of the breath in most of our flowing poses. And you can always go at your own pace. Don't feel like you have to go at mine. Just go with the breath. Let the breath be deep. That's all you need to do. And for anyone who's just joining us, welcome. And as I said to everyone, I'm checking chat every now and then. I might be a bit slow, but I will hold for some questions at the end if you have anything that came up. Okay, we're going to take these circles in the other direction. So we're just letting knees together fall towards, or feet fall towards the mat, and then knees come apart and come all the way back around. And you're still inhaling as the knees move away, exhaling as they come back to the chest. Oh, and another thing I should mention as we're moving through this, if you have any injuries, any part of the body that you want to be gentle with it. You know your body the best. I can give you alignment, but beyond that, just listen to it. Skip a pose if you need to, get out of a pose if you need to, just be gentle. Let's find one more circle. Good, and then let's place feet flat on the mat. And we're looking for alignment here. So that's ankle, knee, and hip. We want all those in line. So there's about 2 to 3 inches between the feet. Oh, thank you, OboCop, for following. Okay, we're going to move through bridge. So another thing we're looking for is knee stacked on top of ankle. Doesn't have to be perfect, but it's the direction we're trying to go. Sometimes people's feet are way far back here or too far out here. Just finding that general alignment. Hands are beside the hips. This is a pose since we are bending at the neck. You don't want to turn the head side to side. Keep your gaze to the sky. And when you're ready on an inhale, we're just lifting the hips straight up. And exhale, roll back down one vertebra at a time. All right, let's meet in this next bridge, and we'll hold here. We're going to switch this flow. So on an inhale, draw the left knee or one knee in towards the chest. Exhale, slowly drop it back down. And then switch. Same thing on the other side. Inhale as you lift. Exhale as you come back down. Just continuing with those deep breaths. Find one more on both sides, making it even in the body. And after the last one, we can come back down. Good, then from here, let's come back to knees to chest for a moment. Just let the back release. I feel like my back needs a release. Okay, coming back to center, this is my favorite. So take arms out to a T. From the shoulders. If you don't have room for the full arm, you can bend at the elbow. Yeah. And find the feet just a touch wider than hip socket distance, a little wider than we just did. And we'll move through a twist. On an exhale, both knees fall to one side. And we'll inhale them to the other side. And just continuing with the breath. Let's find one more on both sides. Actually, I have to do two more. Make it even. Then after that last one, let's roll onto a side. We're going to come up and around to all fours. Real quick here, and I didn't mention this earlier, but you can always add cushion under the knees. I have carpet, so it's not such a big deal. But I had to move them because Zuko was chewing on them. I also have this, which is a, I think it's a meditation thing. One of my clients bought it for me, but it's just a little squishy thing. You can also use a blanket. Mexican blankets are really good. It's generally what we use. Anything you have will work. All right, so make sure joints are stacked here in all fours. So that means wrists under shoulders, knees under hips. And we're gonna flow through cat-cow. We'll start with cat. So on an exhale, we're rounding through the spine. And then we'll inhale cow, curving through the spine. And we're always moving from the tailbone to the head, so we're working up the spine. Oh, and I know Jody mentioned on Twitter earlier that yoga was hard on her wrists. One way to take some pressure off is fists for wrists, palms turned towards one another for that. That way the wrists aren't bent. Hello, Zuko. I knew she would join us for yoga. Okay, let's find one more through both. And then let's come back to a neutral spine, and we're going to find spinal balance. So for spinal balance, we're going, don't attack. That would not, you know, she might attack my feet. It's entirely possible. All right, so spinal balance. We're going to take the right arm and the left leg out in line with the spine. We're flexing the foot, so toes point towards the mat, and we want a nice long spine, so the gaze is also to the mat. And we'll exhale, release. Inhale, switch sides. Left arm, right leg. Good, and just going with the breath from side to side. It's opposite arm, opposite leg. You can do the same arm, same leg, but you're making your job harder. This one's really good for, it's actually used in physical therapy a lot. It's really good to kind of help extend out the body. I don't know. I know there's more to it that I don't remember, but it's a good one. Okay, let's do one more on both sides. All right, and then from here, we're going to switch to lateral flexion. So from all fours, on an exhale, you're just looking back towards your feet. Inhaling center, exhaling to the other side. And just continuing side to side, stretching open the side of the body a little bit. Hello, welcome to anybody who is just joining us. We're still doing the warm-up. Let's find one more on both sides. And then after the last one, let's come back to child's pose. We're just sitting back on heels, forehead to the mat. If the forehead doesn't go to the mat, it's uncomfortable, you can stack fists and place the forehead on fists. And then you can rock side to side, massage the hips a little bit if you would like. And this is a good pose to go to if you need to rest for a moment. It's probably not going to happen today, but because this is going to be a fairly gentle practice, but if you feel you need to, please do. Please do. All right, so normally in a beginner practice, I would not do down dog because down dog is actually a bit more challenging, but we'll throw it in here today since it is very common. You'll run into it a lot, and I like it for a warm-up. So for down dog, go ahead and curl toes under, lift the tailbone to the highest point, and we're gonna alternate heel press. So just pressing down on one heel, bending the other knee, switching back and forth. And for down dog, think about the body as an upside down V. So the tailbone is the highest point. We're pressing shoulder blades against the back or towards the tailbone. I know that sounds like, how the hell do I press shoulder blades? But put it in your mind. A lot of those kinds of things, put them in your mind. They'll move into the body. Just kind of trust. It might take a little while. Might not be today. Good. Another thing we want our fingers to be spread wide. Oh, and if you're protecting wrists, you can drop down to forearms. This is dolphin pose, but you can still get, it's a little different, but you can still get the same thing here. And my wrists often give me trouble too. All right, so let's go ahead and walk from here up to the top of the mat. And another prop that I really like to use because I have hip trouble are blocks. You do not have to have them. There's something I'm going to use so I can protect my body. You can actually use anything that you could stabilize on, but these aren't very expensive if you decide you want to get some. All right, so coming to the top of the mat, let's step back with the right foot, and I'm going to add some cushion under this knee. I'm going to drop the knee down, and we're coming into a lunge. So one of the most important things in a lunge is that the front knee stacks on top of the front ankle. You always want to avoid this, where the knee is past the ankle, just because that puts so much pressure on the knee, and over time it can cause you problems. So from here, we're just going to move through the lunge. So on an inhale, we'll take hips back. We'll exhale them forward. You can always go at your own pace. I wish you guys could see Zoko. She's completely on her back, rolling around. She's not in a good place. Okay, let's find one more on this side. And we'll come back to our lunge. And let's bring this left hand to the left thigh and just roll through the shoulder a little bit. And then let's release this hand back down. Let's step forward to forward fold, and we'll just switch sides. So step back with the left foot, drop the knee, make sure that ankle, knee are in line here, and then we'll move through this lunge. Inhale back, exhale forward. Hello, welcome to anyone new. I keep seeing the numbers shift up and down, so just in case, welcome. We're still moving through the warm-up. We're doing a longer warm-up today since we're doing a gentler practice. Let's find one more. And let's come back to the lunge. Right hand will go to the hip and move through that shoulder, just like we did on the other side. And let's release that right hand down. And from here, we'll step back to forward fold. I'm going to come to the center of my mat, but generally top of the mat is better, but just so you guys can see me. We're going to reverse Swan Dive. So bend the knees, hinge from the hips. The spine is straight as arms sweep all the way up. scoot back here. Let me know if you can't see things that seem important. There we go. Good. And then we're going to flow through chair pose. So for chair, we're sitting back, weight is into the heels and hips, arms sweep forward, and we'll inhale back up. And just going with the breath, as always. Turn it around this way. Oh, that's another thing. We want same alignment. So ankles, knees in line with the hips, toes are pointed forward. It's pretty much true anytime we're standing. A lot of yoga teaches feet all the way together. It's not going to hurt you, but it doesn't work for all bodies, basically. Zuko, please don't play with my cables. I need those cables for my yoga. I'm being entertained by this cat. Let's find one more. Good. Let's meet back at this inhale. So we're going to switch to a sun salutation. So exhale, swan dive down. Bend knees, hinge, come all the way down to forward fold. And then from here, we'll step back to child's pose. So this is a flow. We're going from pose to pose. On an inhale, we're going to come forward to a kneeling plank. So shoulders are over wrists, hips past knees. Avoid letting hips sag down. Keep the spine straight. I swear to God, Zuko. We'll shift forward a bit. Exhale, bend the elbows to crocodile. So this is like a push-up, but hug elbows in by the chest. And then we'll release hips and belly to the mat. Inhale, just use the core to lift the shoulders. Avoid pressing with the hands. Just use the core. And then on an exhale, try and lead with the hips. And we'll come back to child's pose. Then we're going to step back to the top of the mat. And we'll reverse swan dive, bending knees. Exhale, chair. Good. So that's a vinyasa. So let's do another one. This is the kneeling version. So we'll inhale back up. We'll swan dive back down. Oh, I forgot something I like to do. We'll inhale monkey. So lift halfway. Hands on the mat or the shins. Torso comes about halfway up. Exhale, step back to child's pose again. Inhale to kneeling plank. Shift forward. Exhale, kneeling crocodile. Shift forward. Inhale, up dog or low cobra. Oh, exhale, back to child's pose. Sorry, I'm getting into my group class routine. You don't know half the things I'm saying. We're just doing the kneeling version. So from here, let's step back to forward fold. Reverse swan dive, come up. And exhale, chair. Let's do one more. Inhale, back up. Swan dive on the exhale. Inhale, monkey. Exhale, child's pose. Inhale, kneeling plank. Shift, exhale, crocodile. Inhale, low cobra. Exhale, back, child's pose. And then we'll step back to the top of the mat. Inhale, reverse swan dive. Exhale, chair. Good, we'll inhale back up. Let's exhale, mountain. So it's hands by our sides, palms forward, finding the same alignment as we did for chair. Ankles, knees in line with the hip sockets. Good, so that's the warm-up. So now we're going to move into some of the most basic poses that you're going to come across in a yoga practice. The first one is Warrior One. So I'll start here. We're going to step back with the right foot. So this is sort of a lunge, but the back foot is at about a 45-degree angle. So I'll turn this way so you can see it as well. The toes are turned out just enough for the foot to be flat, but the hips to still turn forward. The front knee is bent. And then let's bring the arms out in front, reaching out through the fingertips, start to rotate palms towards the sky. And we'll bring arms up to either side of the ears, and we'll hold here. Good, so we're pressing down into the feet, reaching up through the top of the head. So continuing to hold this, I'm going to shift around a little bit so you can see it from different perspectives. Good, and another thing with this, you can have the heels in line, or you can have a wider, more railroad stance. It's your choice. Zuko looks like she's about ready to attack my hands. Good, but just focus on the breath here. I'm gonna turn around this way for this next pose. So let's find one more deep breath. On an exhale, we're going to float arms down to shoulder height. We're going to switch to warrior two. This is another very common pose you're going to see. So hips are going to turn completely open towards the long edge of the mat. The back foot is going to turn open, so it's about parallel to the short edge of the mat. But let the toes turn into the body, touch more than the heel. Feet are in line, left knee is bent, arms are at shoulder height, and we're gazing over these left fingertips. Good. And then if you're protecting shoulders today, you can hold cactus arms, hands on hips, or at the heart instead. Those are always options for the arms. Continuing to hold. I see that somebody said something. Yeah, sort of like that. And so all of these poses, and we'll get into this in a little bit, but you're looking for dynamic tension. So kind of thinking as if you're trying to reach from all points in the body, trying to stretch the body or suspend the body between strings that are tied to each end. So you're pressing down into the left foot, pressing into the right foot, reaching through the top of the head, reaching out through fingertips, pressing shoulder blades together. Sounds like a lot. Took me a while to find it. Good. Let's find one more deep breath here. The exhale, let's release the arms. Let's turn hips in and step back to mountain. And let's inhale, arms up. Swan dive, exhale, come down. Let's step back to down dog, and let's just hold this pose. So we're pressing shoulder blades towards the tailbone once again. Make sure fingers are spread wide. And if you're finding the back is rounding, bend the knees a little bit so you can straighten the back out. If you have a lot of flexibility, avoid creating a back bend. Got to find that middle road. But this pose is great for the calves. Breathe into those calves. My calves are so tight. I don't know why. I take too many stairs. All right, so let's come forward to a kneeling plank. So come forward to plank, drop the knees to the mat, and let's just hold this plank for a few deep breaths. Shoulders are over wrists. Reach through the top of the head. Still breathe deep. Avoid holding your breath. Well, let's come back to child's pose. We're going to move through a vinyasa, so that's just that middle part of the sun salutation we did earlier. So from child's pose, inhale to full or kneeling. Inhale to kneeling plank, not full. Shift forward, exhale, crocodile, bend the elbows. And then shift again if you can. Inhale, lift up to low cobra. Exhale, lead with the hips, come back to child's pose. I'm going to do this one more time. I'm going to do it facing you so you can see crocodile is kind of the one that is tough for people. So hopefully if I can get back far enough, you can see it. So inhale from child's pose to kneeling plank. Shift forward, exhale, crocodile. If you can see it, I'm hugging elbows in by my ribs, releasing down. Inhale, up dog. And then exhale back to, I said up dog, it was cobra. Back to child's pose. All right, from here, let's go ahead and step back to forward fold. We'll reverse swan dive, bend the knees, hinge. We'll come up. Let's exhale, mountain, hands by sides. And let's switch sides for warrior one. So this time, step back with the right foot. So again, oh no, I'm sorry, the left foot. So again, the back foot, it's at about a 45-degree angle. Toes turn out just enough for the foot to be flat, but the hips to still turn in towards the top of the mat. Front knee is bent. This time, let's take arms behind us, find chest expansion. So for chest expansion, we're clasping the hands, or we're holding an imaginary beach ball. Whichever feels best for you, do that. And if you're clasping, try and bring the palms together so we have a neutral wrist as opposed to a bent wrist. So right leg's the forward leg. Good, same thing as before, we're pressing into both feet, reaching through the top of the head, and avoid adding a back bend in the low back. Good. Just a stretch in the chest and shoulders. If you can reach the fingertips or the knuckles out behind you or down towards the floor, whichever feels best. Keep holding. Haha, what's up, dog? No. It's a classic yoga joke. Man, I have the AC on. What's wrong with me? I'm all sweaty now. I'm always surprised. I'm always surprised at how much just holding these poses heats you up. Okay, let's exhale, And release our chest expansion, and we'll switch. I'll switch this way so we can see it. We'll switch to Warrior Two. So arms up at shoulder height, turn the hips open to the long edge of the mat. Readjust the feet. So this tends to be a wider stance than Warrior One. Back foot is about parallel to the short edge. Right knee is bent. We're gazing over the right fingertips. Arms at shoulder height, or cactus arms, or hips, or heart. Holding here. Good. And try to find your arms at the same height. Often that back arm wants to go down. Just finding it here. So Warrior One and Warrior Two and Down Dog. Most of the things we've done so far are going to crop up in probably every single yoga class you take, depending upon the yoga class, but they're kind of the staples. Let's find one more deep breath. Exhale, we can release the arms. Let's turn the hips in a little bit so we can step back to mountain. And let's inhale both arms back up. We'll Swan Dive, bend the knees, come all the way down. And let's step back to Down Dog again. Let's hold here for a few deep breaths. Hello, Zuko. Goodbye, Zuko. This time, let's do a full vinyasa. You can also do the one I did before. We'll move through it so you can see it. So for full, we'll inhale forward to full plank. Good. And then from here, you're going to shift forward onto the toes a little bit. Exhale, crocodile. And then inhale, pull the belly button through. Use the feet to shift yourself forward. Flip over the feet. For up dog, legs are lifted off the mat. And then exhale, come back over the toes. Good. So you can do that version again if you want. Let's do the other version. We'll move through that. So kneeling, start in child's pose. Inhale to kneeling plank. Shift forward, exhale, kneeling crocodile. Shift forward, low cobra. And exhale, back to child's pose. Good, so from here, let's step back to the top of the mat or into forward fold. And let's reverse Swan Dive. We'll come up. And let's exhale, hands to the heart. Good, and we're going to switch to a balance pose. Let's do a tree pose today. If you know that you want to be close to a wall for balance, feel free to move to one. So for this, we'll bring weight and balance to the left foot, either foot really to start. We're going to draw the other knee up, turn that knee out, and pull that foot in to the left, or to the standing foot. So there's some options for this pose. You can keep this foot down on the mat, you can bring it up to the calf, or you can bring it to the thigh. But you want to avoid the knee entirely. So avoid this with my heel is on the knee. Avoid this, my toes are on the knee. If you want to come up to the thigh, draw the leg out and pull it in. So my toes are completely above that knee. Good, and that's important because we're going to press thigh and foot together. Hands can stay at the heart, or you can extend them up and out wherever you want. And then we're going to hold here. So find the variation that feels best for you. Let go of any need of perfection or anything like that, any expectations. This is not the best version, it's just an option. Good, and for balance poses, if you find a static focal point, can help. Still breathing. Find one more deep breath. On the exhale, if arms are up, bring them back down, and you can release the legs, shake them out if you want. And then we'll switch sides. So weight and balance to the other leg, or the right leg in my case. Come up onto the left toes, turn the left knee out, pull the left foot into the right. And again, toes can be on the mat, they can be on the calf, they can be up on the thigh, but avoid that knee, as the knee is not meant to bend sideways. Injuries generally in yoga are not traumatic. They happen over time. So that means you slowly wear something down. You have no idea why you're injured. That's what we want to avoid. Good. And again, you can bring arms up, out. They can stay at the heart. They could go wherever you want. Let's find one more deep breath. And on the exhale, we can release the arms if they're up, release the legs, shake them out if you want. And then from here, let's inhale both arms up. Let's swan dive, bend the knees, come all the way down to forward fold. And take a moment here. You can shake, you could nod the head, you could cross the arms, you can wrap them around the legs. And let the knees be soft so they're not locked, or bend them as much as you need to take some pressure off of the back. I'm just taking a few moments here. This always feels really good on my shoulders and my neck. They get so tight. All right, let's step back to all fours. Feel free to add some cushion under those knees if you want. And then once here, let's hold a cow pose. So that's the back bend we did earlier. So we're gonna start down at the tailbone. On an inhale, we're curving through the spine. Head will go last and we'll hold here. So for this back bend, you wanna focus on the mid back, kind of in here, more than the low back or neck. So don't feel like you need to get a really deep back bend. Focus on the part of the back we don't tend to back bend in as much. And just breathe. Let's find one more deep breath. Exhale, go ahead and release. Let's come back to child's pose. So sit back on your heels, forehead to the mat, or again, stack fists, place forehead there if you want. But just let the back release here. Oh my God, you scared the shit out of me. Yes, cute kitty. Yes. Okay. Let's go ahead and inhale back to all fours. Pet the cat. That's an important part of yoga. And then we'll sink hips to one side and we're going to swing the legs around to seated staff. Sorry, I'm putting my feet in your face, Suko. So for this pose, you want to sit tall on these sits bones, the butt bones, the bones in your butt. Sit tall on those. If you feel like you're falling back, the back is rounding, elevate the hips. You can use anything you have. You could roll up the mat and sit on it. You could sit on a cushion, a pillow, whatever will give you a little bit of lift. You can also place something under the knees, bend the knees a little bit. That will help as well. Good. So from here, we're going to find a hamstring stretch. So find a long spine before you move forward. Make sure feet are flexed. It's going to help with the stretch as well. And you can stay here if you're getting the stretch. If not, walk hands down the legs and just stop when the spine begins to round. And we'll hold here. Just find those deep breaths. I'm going to move over here for a sec so I can round this. Okay. This music sounds like elevator music. I don't know how I feel about that. Do you guys like elevator music? I don't feel like I do. I feel like some people do, though. Find one more deep breath here. On the exhale, let's come back up. Good. Let's find tabletop. So for this one, we're going to bend knees, placing feet flat. And then we'll place hands behind the hips, fingers turn in towards the body. Do that because that's going to open the shoulders, or use fists for wrists, turn palms towards one another for that option. So we actually have options here as well. You could do seated heart opener instead if you don't want to put all of this pressure on the body, or you can do tabletop. Both are going to open the shoulders. One just requires more strength. So for seated heart opener, we're just going to inhale and lift the heart, holding here. For tabletop, we'll inhale, lift the hips. Chin can stay tucked in, or head can go back in line with the spine. Just avoid letting the head hang. And then squeeze the inner thigh to keep the knees in line with the hip sockets. All that alignment. Make sure elbows don't lock if you can help it. My elbows are double jointed, so they look locked sometimes when they're not. Let's find one more deep breath. And the exhale will release. Zuko will play with my watch. I agree, Maru. I agree. Not a big fan of elevator music out in the world. All right, so let's do some core work here. So still with hands behind the hips, same options. We're gonna bring both legs up. I like this one because it also massages the hips. We're gonna roll onto one hip. On an exhale, draw the knees in towards the chest. Inhale, swing legs out to center. Exhale to the other side. Good, and just continuing side to side. You can adjust the intensity for more core work. Extend the legs out further on those inhales. Do not get onto the television, Zuko. For less, keep the knees in closer to the chest. Oh, she listened! She listened to me! Yay! Find one more on both sides. We'll meet back at center. Good. Let's move to our backs. So from here, move anything on the mat. If you have anything on it that you don't want to lay on, place both hands behind one leg, and we're going to use that leverage to come all the way back. Let's place feet flat on the mat. Place hands by the hips, find ankles and knees in line with the hip socket. So again, 2 to 3 inches between the feet. We're going to move into bridge, and we're going to hold it this time. So when you're ready on an inhale, we'll lift the hips up, and we'll hold here just as high as feels comfortable. This is another pose where we're squeezing the inner thigh to keep knees in line with hips. Avoid turning the head side to side. Keep your gaze to the sky. Just find those deep breaths. What was that? That was a noise, but I don't know what they all mean yet. Whatever it is, thank you. Let's find one more deep breath. Exhale, come back down. Let's come to knees to chest. Draw both knees in, hands behind the knee joint on the thigh. And just let the back release from that back bend. Rock if you want, or just hold the pose. Ah, a follow. Thank you, Literary Bell. Thank you. Okay, we're going to switch to Happy Baby. This pose is fun. So take soles of the feet to the sky. Let knees fall open. You can hold on behind the knee joint on the thigh. Try and keep the tailbone on the mat so we're not curling it up off. And then try and get the ankles on top of the knee. So it's sort of like you're squatting on the ceiling. You can also do a yoga toe hold. First 2 fingers hook around the big toe. Thumb caps off on the top of the toe here. And you can rock in this pose, which can feel really nice. Or you can just hold it. But this is about the hip opener. Just breathe into the hips. Find one more deep breath. Exhale, release this pose. Let's drop feet to the mat. And then from here, we're going to switch to upside down pigeon. So draw this left leg up, cross the left ankle over the right thigh, And we're looking for the stretch in this left outer hip and glute. So if you feel it here, go ahead and stay. If you don't, draw the right knee in towards the chest, clasp hands behind this right thigh and hold here. But try and keep this left knee open, keep this left foot flexed. And then just breathe into the stretch. Let's find one more deep breath. On the exhale, keep the legs crossed, but release that right leg back to the mat if it's lifted. We're going to take arms out to a T and switch to a twist. So we'll let both legs fall to the right. Then you can turn your gaze to the left. And then once here, if the legs being crossed is not comfortable, just uncross them and stack knees instead. Just try and release into this twist. Try and keep the shoulders on the mat in this twist. Next exhale, let's come back to center. Let's switch sides. Draw the right leg up. We'll find our upside down pigeon first. Cross right ankle over the left thigh. And again, stay here if you're feeling the stretch. If not, draw the left knee in towards the chest. Clasp hands behind the left thigh. Hold here. Oh, my right hip is way tighter than my left. This is where I can really feel it. Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know the names. Upside down pigeon is a silly name. But there are like 4 or 5 different versions rather of pigeon. This is just one of them. This happens to be my favorite one, as a matter of fact. Find one more deep breath. On the exhale, release that left leg if it's lifted. Keep legs crossed. Take arms to a T. Let both legs fall to the left. Turn your gaze to the right. Uncross the legs if you need to. Try and keep shoulders on the mat. And just release into the twist. Next exhale, let's come back to center. And then from here, let's find a reclining butterfly. This is a nice pose. So just let the knees fall open, bring the soles of the feet together. Arms could go wherever you like. And just let gravity stretch the hips a little bit. And then from here, we're going to switch to final relaxation. So for this is sort of a, I guess you could call it a meditation, but really think of it as just kind of a moment to focus after this practice. So you can actually stay in this reclining butterfly if you want, or you can switch to Shavasana. So Shavasana is just a pose. It's corpse pose, but we can use a Sanskrit word. So it's just laying flat, finding wherever that's comfortable for you. You can also sit in easy seated pose or just a cross-legged pose if you prefer. Just close your eyes and turn your attention back to the breath, still breathing in and out through the nose. Just letting it be deep. And on the exhales, letting the body release into the mat. Letting any tension melt away. And this is another point at which we're not trying to close anything off. We don't want it to necessarily be perfectly quiet. It doesn't need to be perfectly peaceful. Just focus on the senses. This is about being present with what is. It's sort of about being able to find peace in the now. So notice what you hear. Notice what you feel. All those things will help draw you into the present. And none of this is easy. It can take a while. It's sort of a skill. Because the mind's going to wander. And then once it does, just bring it back. Back to the senses, back to your surroundings. On the next inhale, stretch arms over the head and wiggle fingers and toes a little bit. Rotate through wrists. And let's stretch the face, opening the eyes wide, open the mouth, stick out the tongue, take a deep exhale. I love that stretch because it's so ridiculous looking, but it feels so good. And then when you're ready, roll on to one side. If you want to, you can take a moment here. Now when you're ready, use hands to come up to seated. I think you should do it, Maru. I've actually wanted to try and do some yoga classes renaming a bunch of things, but it seems like such an undertaking to memorize all the new names. Alright, so just come to an easy seated pose. Just find where you're comfortable. And let's just take a few deep breaths here, just to check back in after everything. And the next inhale, sweep arms up. And exhale, hands to the heart. Thank you all for joining me for my very first yoga stream today. Namaste. Wow. Right at 11? So we went a little bit under an hour. That's pretty, I'm amazed at that. And Kat is here to celebrate. Okay. So thank you. Seriously, you guys, this, I've been kind of intimidated by this whole thing, and it's taken me a lot longer to do it than I really wanted to wait. But, yeah, I don't know. It's a skill I have, and I don't really like group class settings as a participant a whole lot because people make me anxious, but it is also nice to have the group aspect. So I feel like you can get a little bit of both here. You have a little bit of protection, I suppose, for lack of a better word, being in your own space, but you still have, okay, don't pull on cables, but you still have a group. So I really appreciate it. If anybody has any questions about anything, we can do a few. You're welcome, Tyler. Thank you for coming here and being a part of it today. I appreciate it. And this was a very, very basic practice, a very accessible one. So if it wasn't challenging to you, then don't worry, there'll be more. Hey, thanks you guys. Thank you. Thank you, Obocop, and thank you, Consuela. You're welcome. My cat is trying to destroy the stream now. Come here, kitty. Come say hi. Say hi to everybody. She loves this. She loves being held. Right? You say hi? Mwah. No? You hate it? Okay. She hates it. The most helpful tools for doing yoga? Yourself. As far as extra things, I really like the blocks and the blanket. Just because it's another one of those things. It's funny because throughout the day, we don't do much more with our body except this. Maybe, you know, standing, sitting, laying. It's all kind of focused this way. There's not a lot of opening up. And so when you think about it like that, the body, it's very resilient, but it's also kind of fragile, especially when you're moving it through things over and over again that you've not necessarily done before. So all aspects of protection you can give, like protecting your knees, giving yourself, whenever you use blocks, so you essentially are making your arms longer by doing that. That can take pressure off the back. So those kinds of things I personally find really helpful. They aren't necessary to do a yoga practice. You don't have to have those exact things. But those are the things I like. And a mat's helpful just because, I don't know, you can do it on carpet, you can do it on anything really, but again, it's just that extra little cushion. But yeah. Sweet Matt P3000, no worries. I knew not everybody would necessarily be able to make it right when it started, so play it back. And also, you know, I don't know, I mean, streaming, you're used to chatting. It's hard to chat and do yoga. So that's one of those things I want to figure out too, is kind of what the best way to approach all of this is going to be anyway. But yeah, I really appreciate you guys being here. I really, really do. And if you enjoyed it, let other people know and let me know. One thing I want to do is I definitely want to kind of like grow this as we go. So figure out different ways we can approach it, different things, different fun things I can do. I can also do, what's the word I'm looking for? I can take requests, which can be kind of fun. So yeah, well, if anybody doesn't have any other questions, then we can go ahead and end it here for today. But yeah, I really appreciate it. And again, thinking of this as a donation class, if you feel you can, there's a donate button down below. It's just PayPal. Every little bit helps me be able to continue to offer these classes to you, but also I'm just glad to have you guys here. Don't feel like you have to. There's no pressure. Also, I'll avoid not hitting the microphone in the future. But again, thank you guys. I really, really appreciate it. And hopefully I can grow this channel and we can do more. Oh, and another thing, once I figure it out, I'm probably going to try to stream some Beat Saber because I like playing Beat Saber and I think it'd be fun to stream. So watch out for that. But yeah, I guess I'll head off. I'm gonna go eat some lunch. If it's your lunchtime, you should do that too because it's the best meal of the day. Okay, see you guys later. Bye.